All right. Well, welcome in everybody, and those who are just joining us as we start here. We've got our mindful movement session for today. We won't need any equipment, just your wonderful selves. So we will get started right away. So get yourself in a nice, comfortable position where you are, whether you need to shuffle or move around or whatever it is. Just get yourself nice and comfortable, and let's start with our nice deep breathing here. Breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. And just continue that there. And if you haven't already, over the next couple of breaths, let's start to slowly close our eyes down and bring that focus inwards to our breath. Just nice, deep breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth, and relax it down there. Keep that breathing going. Nice, deep breathing. Try and slow that out breath down a little bit more if you can, just to extend it to be longer than the in breath. That's just going to help us to relax even more. Keep that focus there. And as you do, notice how it affects your body as well. As you breathe in, notice your lungs inflate, chest lift up, shoulders come back slightly. You sit up a little bit taller. And then as you breathe out, notice how it all relaxes back down again. Shoulders drop. The relaxation kind of waves over you as you do it. And just notice that as you breathe in, as you breathe out, notice that cycle and how it makes you feel as well. Notice the relaxation happen. Notice how that focus comes inwards as well. As we start to block out the noise around us, we're focusing inwards now. So just keep that focus there as you go through the breathing, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And now we're in this much more relaxed state. Let's keep the breathing going. But as you do so, just first of all, thank ourselves for being here today. As we always say, sometimes the hardest bit of these sessions is just turning up in the first place. So you've already got that out of the way. So now we're here. Let's thank ourselves for getting over that first step, but also reminding ourselves that we don't need to worry about what's going on around us, what's happened before the session, what we've got going on after the session. We're here in the now, and we can focus on the next hour here and this session in front of us. So remind ourselves now and carry that through for the next hour here. Keep that breathing going in through the nose, out through the mouth, as you thank yourself, as you remind yourself. And this next bit here, we normally do this towards the end, but I want to introduce it into the beginning of today's session. We're just going to do a little bit of box breathing. So keep your eyes closed as we do this. What we're going to do, and I'll guide you through this as well, so don't worry about starting it straight away. I'm going to introduce it to you here. We're going to do some box breathing. So for this, we breathe in for 4 seconds, and then we'll hold it in for 4 seconds, then we breathe out for 4 seconds, and then we'll hold it out for 4 seconds. And I'll explain a little bit more about why this is beneficial in a moment. But let's start it all together. So first of all, just breathe out, and then we'll start to breathe in. 2, 3, 4. Hold it in now for 2, 3, 4. Now breathe out. 2, 3, 4. Hold that breath out now. 2, 3, 4. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4. Hold the breath in. 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4. Hold the breath out now. 2, 3, 4. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4. Hold it in. 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4. Hold it out. 2, 3, 4. One more time. Breathing in. 2, 3, 4. Hold it in. 2, 3, 4, and then breathe out. 2, 3, 4, and return your breathing to normal. Breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth at your nice steady pace. And as you keep that breathing going, start to open up your eyes. And as you breathe in now, let's shrug the shoulders up, squeeze them nice and tight. And as we breathe out, relax them back down as much as we can. And continue that cycle there of breathing in, squeezing the shoulders, and breathing out and relaxing them down. So that breathing that we just did a second ago is called box breathing because we follow the box pattern, the 4-4-4-4. And what that does is to really helps to force ourselves into relaxation and to shut out the world around us. And that can really help with just tapping into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is what helps us to relax and send all the nutrients and all the relaxation around our body. So it's a really good way of just forcing our nervous system to be in the parasympathetic, which is what helps us to relax. So I just wanted to introduce that into the beginning of the session so we can start to do these shoulder shrugs that we're doing now as we breathe in and squeeze, and as we breathe out and relax it down. It just helps to facilitate these movements that we're doing. Good. Keep the breathing going, but instead of shrugging up and down, we're going to go forwards. I'll come to the side so you see it there. So forwards and then bringing it back. So as we breathe in, bring it back, squeeze those shoulder blades together. And as you breathe out, push those shoulders forwards and go back and forth between the two. Squeeze the shoulder blades, breathe in, breathe out, push it forwards and go back and forth between the two, just like we did with the shrugging, but going forwards and back now. Good. Let's just go through some shoulder rotations now. So just rotating either forwards or backwards. It doesn't really matter too much because we will swap in a moment, but just nice, gentle, relaxing. Round we go with the shoulders and just starting to open them up a little bit more. We like to do this shoulder warm up as a bit of a starter here, just to help relax them. Our shoulders do a lot, whether you're a manual wheelchair user, a power wheelchair user, or somewhere in between, or neither of those things. You're probably using your shoulders a little bit more if you're in a wheelchair or leading a more seated lifestyle. So the arms tend to do a lot more of the carrying of our life. So being able to get a good warm up in, getting good mobility in it, is going to really help to keep them healthy for a longer time. Let's change direction, whichever way you'll go. Go the opposite way now, and just relaxing it round. Nice, gentle circles, nothing too crazy here, just getting it moving. As we go through the next couple of exercises, we will start to go a little bit more through our range of motion. Just start nice and simple here to begin with. Good work. Keep the shoulders going round as they are, but now put the hands sort of on the shoulders or near the shoulders, and we can start rotating them around with it. So keep the shoulders rotating around, but linking the arms in with it, and hands on the shoulders, but only roughly. I'm going to come a little bit closer as well so you can showcase this one a little bit more. So although I've got my hands on my shoulders, I'm not locking them in place here. They're sort of gliding around on that shoulder joint, just nice and gentle, whatever feels good for you there, going around. Now I'm doing both arms together here, and if you're able to do that, that's absolutely fine. But if not, we can always do it one arm at a time. So we do one arm, maybe a couple on one side, and then swap over to the other side if you need to, just for balance reasons or whatever it may be. But we can just get that going around either both together or just the one arm for a couple, or alternating, whatever works for you here, just to mobilize it the best you can. And that's going to look different for everybody, and that's absolutely fine. As we just introduce just a little bit of more of a stretch in that movement as we do this, compared to just shoulders round. Good. Let's change direction now. So go the opposite way and get that one going around just like we did, but the opposite way around. And again, you may want to do double arm, just the single arm, alternating, whatever works for you there. Good work, everybody. Excellent work. Let's start to open up a little bit more. So nice slow movements with this. We're just going to bring a nice big circle around with the arm the best you can. If you need to do a slightly bent arm with it, that's fine. Even if it's just a smaller variation, we're just opening up that shoulder just a little bit more by using the full length of our arm to help move that round. Good work, everybody. Keep that going. Excellent work. Let's change direction with that first arm there. Going the opposite way now. Again, nice, easy movements. Good work. Again, if you can't get that full circle round, just do what you can here to keep that moving. Good work. Okay, let's change over to the other side now and get that one going around too. So just nice, easy movements, warming up that shoulder. And we've done it step by step here. We started with those little shoulder squeezes and we've gone into the rotation, then a little bit more with the hands on the shoulders, a little bit more with the arm open up. And just bit by bit, we're just warming up these shoulders, getting them mobilized, getting them moving, taking them for a good range of motion, and almost getting a little bit of a stretch in there as well. Good. Let's change direction and go the opposite way now. Good work. Excellent. Keep that good range of motion. You might even find that you get, a little bit of shoulder fatigue or a little bit of aching as you're doing this, just because we are going nice and slowly. It's quite a big range of motion. So you may find that it's a little bit tiring. If you need to take a break at any point, that's absolutely fine. You can join back in whenever you're ready to. Good work. Okay, so we're nice and warm and a bit more fluid in the shoulders. Let's do one more before we move on to stretching. So we're just going to reach over the best we can towards the opposite shoulder. If you come and do my more invigorating classes, you'll see that this is usually part of the warm-up. Essentially, what we're doing here is a slower form of that. And we're doing it for the same reason. So when we do our more cardio-based fitness, we do this a little bit faster, and that's to build the heart rate up, get some blood flowing to the muscles. And we're trying to do the same thing here in terms of getting the blood flowing to the muscles. And the reason for that is because the next bit, what we're going to do is some stretching in some of the muscles that support and move that shoulder joint. And stretching always benefits. Well, the muscles, when you do stretch them, they always benefit from being warmed up beforehand. You get an extra bit of stretching, you're a little bit safer, they're a bit more prepared for it. So doing this warm up before stretches, you're going to get much more benefit from it and safer as well, which is always a good thing. Good. So now we're a little bit warmer. You might even feel it a bit warmer in your body. Let's go into some of those stretches now. And we'll start with just reaching over to one side, holding it there for a couple of seconds. I've just got a spasm. And then we come over and then over to the other side. So just reaching over, holding it for maybe 1, 2, 3, and then back down and over. And I'll let you count to 3, maybe somewhere between 3 and 5 seconds. If you feel like you need to hold it just a little bit longer, feel free to do so. But whenever you feel ready to move over to the other side, just go back and forth between the two in your own time. And feel that stretch if you can. And where you should feel it is kind of like the back of the armpit going down the rib cage, at least like the back of the rib cage. And that's because we're stretching the lats here, which are the big muscles that connect quite a lot of your body together. Actually, they go into the spine, they go right up into the shoulder joint as well. So they're almost like our wings as such. And they help with a lot of big movements. And they're often neglected. So that's why it's important to keep them mobile, keep them stretched, and doing the best we can. I did forget to say, but if you can't get the arm up and over the top, then we can just bring it more across the front instead, or even lower. That means you can still get a good stretch in, but it kind of shifts a little bit away from the lats and into the trapezius, which is the muscle above the lats. Good work. Those who I can see on screen are doing it great, and I'm sure those who I can't see are doing it just as great as well. Good work. Okay, the next one we're going to involve that upper back muscle that I just talked about, and we're going to involve our chest at the same time. So you bring both arms back, just like so, and then I'm going to reach one hand forwards, and then come back, and then I'm going to do the other hand forwards on the second one. Really try and reach in forwards, but if you can do both arms forwards together, you can try that. I'll try and demonstrate it, see if I don't fall forwards. So both arms forwards. Yep, no, started to go there, but you can stretch both together at the same time. And you can always use a desk or a surface or something just to rest on if you need to have that extra support. I know that most of you have some sort of surface in front of you, as long as it's nice and stable, that you can use to help. But let me come to the side here as well and explain it a little bit more. So as we bring it back, really stretching out that chest, bring those arms almost behind us here. And then as we reach forwards, and we want to, I'll do this arm, reach that arm forwards, almost pushing it forwards in the socket there to get that stretch in the back, and then bringing it back again, stretching the chest, swapping over to the other side, reaching it forwards out of the socket slightly, not out of the socket, but forwards in the socket, and then bringing it back. And just keep that going there. And all of these muscles that we're stretching are all connected to that shoulder joint that we're talking about, because the shoulders are, well, we call it a shoulder joint, but it's actually a collection of joints. There's three major joints there, and there's at least like 10 muscles that connect to it. So there's lots getting involved there. So it's really complicated. It's the most complicated joint structure in the body. So because of that, it needs lots of attention, lots of warming up, and lots of different stretches to make sure it stays nice and mobile. So we don't want to reject any part of it. Into the next bit, we're going to do our rotator cuffs. And for this, we got two options. Option number one is keep the elbows tucked in, open the hands out to the side, and then back in again. So just open it up like so. Up comes the front again, tuck it in. But if you can, I would recommend getting the elbows up about parallel to the floor and then going back and forth. And it's the same stretch essentially as we go back and forth here. But the difference is that with this one, you don't need to worry about holding your arms up, so it's a little bit easier, but you might not be able to get the internal rotation as much. Whereas if our arms are up, the internal rotation is when we're down here, so you can get a little bit further with that. But just do what you can. And you can always do the single arm as well if you need to do a single arm. Another way I like to sort of visualize this as I come in closer to show you this one here. So I've got the elbows up high, and see where my thumb is there? I'm pointing the thumb forwards, and here, pointing the thumb backwards behind me. So that's how I sort of visualize it as I'm going back and forth between the two, trying to keep my torso nice and still all the way through. Because if I lean back as I'm doing this, I'm not going to get as much of a stretch as if I'm sat up nice and tall, because they go through a bigger range of motion in the shoulder joint rather than the whole body. Good work. Let's ease out of it there. Let's just go into a few little shoulder rotations just to ease out of that movement that we just did. And you might even find that it's just even just a little bit looser now from when we did it a second ago. Let's change direction. And that's all part of it. And generally, when we do stretching, you'll probably feel a little bit looser, but it might also feel a little bit more tired or even a little bit stretched. So it could feel a little bit tender in those areas. But as long as it's not too painful, that should be okay. Good. Let's ease out of it there. And we'll have a short little hydration break. So get some water on. And then we'll move into the next bit with our neck and rest of our spine mobility coming up next. Okay. So for this next bit here, we are going to do some of our neck mobility. So whenever you're ready to, we can start just going through, looking up and down, nice and gentle, back and forth between the two, nice and controlled. And we don't want to go through a massive range of motion here. We just want to make sure that we are just mobilizing here, moving through what we can comfortably. Just nice and gentle, up and down, the best you can. Good work. Keeping that going there. Gliding back and forth between the two. And when we find ourselves looking down next, let's hold that position there and just let gravity take over a little bit, where it just helps to pull it down slightly, stretch it out a little bit through that back of the neck. Now, you may not feel too much of a stretch here, and that's perfectly normal on this exercise. In fact, for myself, even this isn't really too much of a stretch, but we like to keep it up just in case, because we don't want it to where it feels like it needs a stretch. So having it nice and long and strong as well is going to really help in the long run. So just holding it there, getting that stretch, just making sure we're maintaining its current length. And the reason it's probably not feeling too much of a stretch is just because of our modern lives and being in a more seated position more of the time. It just leads to this muscle being naturally a little bit longer anyway. Let's ease out of it now. Do a couple more looking up and downs. And then next we go into the extension looking up, holding that position there, and then we can add in our modifiers to help increase that stretch. The first one is making sure the mouth is closed as we've got that chin up. And then the next one is putting our hand on the sternum and gently pulling down. I've got my microphone literally just there, so I'm just going to maybe cause some noise. But yeah, we're holding the hand on the sternum, pulling down gently as we're looking up, as we've got our mouth closed, and that's just going to introduce a stretch through the front of our neck there. And you'll know when you feel it because it'll feel like a really good stretch probably through that front of your neck. And if you can't quite feel it, play around with the hand positioning. And maybe even look side to side slightly as you're extended up. Good, ease out of it there. Looking up and down a couple more times here. Nice, gentle movements. Good work. Okay, let's go into our rotation next, looking side to side. Again, nice and gentle, nice and controlled, no rush here. Just getting the movement in the best that we can do. And you may find that as you go through this, you can get just a little bit raw range of motion, but don't worry if you can or you can't. Wherever you can get to is the important thing here. For these movements in particular, looking up and down, side to side, and lateral flexion, it's more important to do the movement than it is how far you can get it. And that's because our necks are designed to move on a regular basis. So getting them moving as much as we can is really going to help them to essentially do their job and to do it as well as it can. And that keeps them healthy. When we give our bodies jobs they've been assigned to, they've evolved into this. And it really does help to keep it mobile because it's giving it the job it's designed to do. Good. Okay. Next time we find ourselves looking to the left, let's hold that position there. Let's take our left hand, put it on our right collarbone if we can, and then gently pull that down towards the armpit. I'm going to explain that one again. So we'll look to the left and we'll feel a little bit of a stretch in there. Some of you may feel like that's enough of a stretch. That's fine, holding it there. If you need it a little bit extra there, you can take your left hand, place it on your right collarbone, and just gently pull it diagonally downwards towards the armpit. And you may need to raise your chin slightly as you're doing this to feel the stretch. But if you get it in the right position, whether it's the hand or wherever it may be, you may need to play around with that. You'll feel a stretch sort of between the collarbone and the bottom of the jaw there. And that's when you know that you're in the right position. Keep that mouth closed as well. That's going to help with the stretch. And let's ease out of it. Do a couple of lefts and rights. And then the next time you find yourself looking to the right, look to the right. If that's enough of a stretch, hold that position. If you need a little bit extra, right hand on left collarbone and gently pulling it down diagonally towards the left armpit. And feeling that stretch through the neck. Again, keep that mouth closed. That's going to help. And you may want to look up slightly as well. That will also help. If you are experiencing any sort of pain or discomfort through this, well, pain, we want to just back off of it slightly. If it's discomfort, if it's just from a stretching perspective, that's okay. If it's anything else, then again, feel free to back out of it. Good. Ease out of it again there. Again, doing a couple of lefts and rights. And then let's move into the lateral flexion, which is where we bring one ear to one shoulder, to the other shoulder, and back and forth between the two. Nice and gentle and controlled. And for some reason, mine is particularly stiff this week. So I'm really feeling it going side to side. So I'm just going gentle, controlled movements. I'm not trying to get to where I usually get to. I'm just going through what it's capable of doing today. And that's all we can ask for from it, just what it can do right now when we go one ear to one shoulder and then to the other shoulder, back and forth between the two. And not trying to overexert it here. Okay, when you're ready to, let's bring the right ear to the right shoulder. Take the left arm, drop it down towards the floor if you want to. So, well, you've got three options here. So, right ear to right shoulder, that might feel like you're getting a really good stretch there anyway. So, if that's the case, feel free to stick with that. If you want to take a little bit further, you can drop that left hand down and really feel the stretch here between the left shoulder and the left ear. And then you've also got the option as well, if you want to, you can pop that behind our back as well as an option. So just arm behind the back, feeling that stretch a little bit differently on that one. So yeah, arm on the lap or arm down or arm behind you. Find what works for you and go with it. Good, ease out of it. Do a couple of lefts and rights. And then you probably guess what's coming up next. We'll bring the left ear to the left shoulder, opening up that gap between the right ear and the right shoulder. And then if you want to, we can drop that arm down or behind you. Feel that stretch down the right side between the ear and the collarbone sort of area. And just feeling it out there. Good. Let's do a couple of lefts and rights again. Easing out of it. Good. Okay, let's go through the rest of our spine now. We'll start with our flexion extension again. Going through arching like a high jumper, curling like a shrimp, going back and forth between the two, nice and gentle and controlled if you can in this position. If this is too much for you though, remember we can use our backrest to assist. I've just seen Liz there using her desk as well in front of, so you can use that as well. And the main thing is here to always, if you're doing that, pulling yourself so you can arch through and then curling over. So there's a big difference between curling and arching. So, sorry, curling and bending. So let's go to the flexion side of it if you haven't already got it. So bending is where I bend forwards like so. Curling is where I curl over like this. So this is a different. This is curled. This is bent. That's the difference. The curling is where each vertebrae is just doing a little bit just to curl over and get us into the right position. Bending is where we just bend in one position, whether it's at the hips or at one particular point of the spine. But this just distributes the load when we curl over. And each and every vertebrae is getting just a little bit of a stretch in there. And then when we go into extension, we're extending through and doing the opposite of that. So we're going the opposite direction. We go back and forth between the two. Nice and gentle control. I know most of you got it here by now after the years that we've been doing these movements, but it's really important to keep this up, keep the consistency up, as this really helps us to stay mobile for a long time. Good. Okay, let's go into our rotation next. We rotate round to one side. You can use your arms for assistance. And then round to the other side. And again, we're going to go gently back and forth between the two, nice and controlled. We're not trying to overexert ourselves here and really yank ourselves around. We just want to go really nice and gentle back and forth between the two, especially if you can't feel these areas like myself. And we don't want to put ourselves in compromising positions. We just want to go nice and gentle back and forth between the two. Remembering the movement itself is more important than how far you can get. Good work. Okay, let's go into some lateral flexion now. That's where you reach down to one side, down to the other. And just don't worry about how far you can get as well. Just remember about curling over to one side and curling over to the other side. And just back and forth between the two. And don't worry about getting down too far. I make it look like I go really far over, but my arms are very, very long, so it's very easy for me to touch the floor. Your arm length may vary in comparison to how far you are away from the floor. So that's absolutely fine. Wherever you can get to, just curling over the best that you can do. Okay, good. So that is our 4 movements. We're just going to add one more in here, which kind of combines some of them, which is our whirlpool, which will go around in a circle. And I like this one because it kind of feels like it gets some bits in between them. It just helps us to get into some positions that we wouldn't normally get into. And change direction. Good, easing out of it there. Let's have another little hydration break. And then we're going to go into our yoga-like movements on this next bit. And for this, we're going to go through a fair range of motion. But both your spine and your shoulders should be nicely warmed up by now. Which is going to help us for this because it's quite a long, like quite a wide range of motion. We're going to build into it here as well. So we're going to, those who have done it before will understand what I mean, but we're going to start with a couple of movements, then we're going to add one, add one, add one, and move our way up through this progression here. So the first one here is where we start in our starting position, which is right down at the bottom, just like so, reaching towards the floor. So that's our starting position. And then from here, we lift up with a flat back, whether you need to push off your lap or a part of your wheelchair or whatever it may be that you're pushing up. So you're about halfway up, 45 degrees with a nice flat back. Then we come back down again. And the second time we come up, we come out with a curl back. So almost imagine like a snake curling up bit by bit, vertebrae stacking on top of each other until you're set up nice and straight. And that's our finish position. Then we go right the way back to the starting position. And that's all we're going to do for now between those two. So coming up with a flat back down, curling up until you're sat upright. Once you're sat upright, go all the way back down to the starting position and then come up with that flat back down, curling up all the way to the top and then back down. So just keep repeating that to start with. Up with a flat back, curling up on the second one. And what we're doing is warming up that spine a little bit more, helping us to mobilize. Good, okay. What we're going to do now is add in an extra bit. So as we curl up, when we get to the top, we're going to pop our hands together in a prayer position, reaching up towards the sky, out and around, and then down to that starting position. Let's go through it all together. So up with a flat back down, curling up on the second time up, palms together, reaching up, out, around, and then all the way back down again to that starting position, repeating through that, up with a flat back down, curling up, palms together, reaching up, out, and around, all the way down again, and repeating through, up with a flat back down, curling up, palms together, reaching up, out, around, and down we go. Keep that going there in your own time and pace. Good work. Excellent work, everybody. On this next one, keeping it going, we're going to come up with a flat back. Then when we come up, again, palms together, reaching up and out. But as you come out, we're going to pause. Our arms are at parallel. We're going to rotate round to the left side. And then we're going to rotate round to the right side. And then we're going to come back to the middle. and then we go back down to the starting position. So let's go through that all again. So we come up with the flat back down, curling up on the second time up. As you come to the top of the movement, palms together, reaching up, out, and then pausing at parallel to the floor, rotate to the left. You'll probably feel a bit of a stretch there as you do so. Rotate to the right, and then back to the middle, and then all the way back down to the starting position. Repeating through here. Flat back first time you come up, curled back as you come up the second time, palms together, reaching up, out, parallel to the floor, rotating to the left, rotating to the right, and then back to the start position, and in your own time, in your own pace now. Good work, everybody. Just get good range of motion. Don't try and force anything here. Just be nice and fluid between the movements that we're doing to the best of your ability. Good work. Excellent. Okay, on this next one, we're going to back to the starting position, coming up with the flat back again, through those same movements to begin with, coming up with a curl back on the second time, palms together, reaching up, out, and then pausing at parallel, rotating to the left. But now what we're going to do, drop one arm back, going to reach over the top, so we seesaw back, and then back to the middle. Then we're going to rotate round to the right side. Right arm drops down, left arm comes up, and then seesaw back to the middle, rotate round to the middle again, and then down to the starting position. Let's go from the beginning all together. So up with the flat back down, curling up on the second time. As we come right to the top, we put the palms together, reaching up, out, around until parallel, rotate round to the left. Left arm drops down, right arm comes up above our head, or at least the best you can. Then comes back to parallel, rotates round to the right side. Right arm drops down, left arm comes up. And then drops down again, rotates round to the center, and then all the way back down to the starting position. I'll guide you through this because we've got a few extra steps. But if you feel like you want to go, carry on. Up with the flat back down. Curling up, palms together, reaching up, out to parallel, rotate to the left, left arm drops down, right arm comes up, seesaw back again, and rotate round to the right side. Right arm drops down, left arm comes up, and then seesaws back again, back round to the middle, and let's go one more like this. So all the way back down to the starting position, coming up with a flat back first of all. Back down, coming up with the curl back now. Nice easy movements, palms together, reaching up, out, and around. Rotating to the left side. Left arm drops down, right arm comes up. Comes back to parallel again, rotating around to the right. Right arm drops down, left arm comes up this time. Back down again, rotating around to the middle, and let's ease it off there. Good work. We are going to just, with this next one, we're not going to add on to the end. We're going to do it separate just because I want to do this a fair few amount of times. So for this, what we're going to do is take our forearm and place it on our lap. So let's start with our right arm on our lap here. And what we're going to do with our left arm, we're going to rotate around and point up to the ceiling or sky if you're outside maybe. And then what we're going to do is bring it down. We're going to thread our needle through the gap underneath our armpit and then point to the other side. I'm going to give some variations here. But if you can do that, Go back and forth between the two. So pointing to the ceiling, rotating around to the left, and then coming down, rotating around to the right, putting that hand in between that gap and going back and forth between the two. If you've got it there, feel free to carry on, but I'm going to show you from the side as well. So you can see that gap. So this is the hole I've created here underneath my armpit. You're going to rotate round to the left, point up to the sky, and then we're going to come down, thread the needle through that gap, and point over and go back and forth. Now, some of you may struggle to get into that position, especially the lower down position, like so, because that's quite a tough position to get into. If you can't do that, then not a problem for this. What I want you to do is simulate that first one, so rotating up to the side, and then so instead of coming down and through the gap, just come down and across the body and reach over the best you can. You notice here I'm not quite as bent over. It's a little bit easier just to stretch over to the side. You're getting like 95% of the same movement. You're just not quite getting that bent over position, which can be difficult to get into. So either reach up and then reach through that gap, or reach across the best you can. Good. Well, let's do a few more here. And let's go on to the other side now. So the left forearm on the lap, if you're doing it this way, reaching up with the right arm and then coming down through that gap and pointing over to the other side. And again, if you can't thread through that gap, just come across your body the best you can. I'll come to the front as well, so you can see it from there. But you guys, from what I can see, some of you are doing it very well. Some I can only see your head, so I'm just going to assume that you're doing it very well. You don't need to show rest of if you don't want to. But yeah, sometimes it is just a head, but that's fine. I get a gist of what you're doing. But yeah, just getting through that range of motion. I just like to change my angles, so sometimes it can make sense when I go to the side or to the front to demonstrate it. But here we're using a lot of different ranges of motion with a lot of different arms and back and shoulders and all sorts here to get into these positions. We're almost utilizing our whole upper body, which is such a fantastic way of mobilizing these joints. Good. Let's ease out of it there, and let's just do a little bit of shoulder rotation there as well, just to ease out of it. Good work. Alrighty, so let's go into some meditation here to finish off. First of all, let's just do some deep breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth, and start to set ourselves back down. By the way, if you want to drink before we start this, that's absolutely fine because I'm going to do the same. But if you're ready to do some breathing, just go in through the nose, out through the mouth. Nice deep breathing. Relax yourself down there. Just breathing nice, slow, deep breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. And relaxing down into the seat that you sat in, and just let that weight drop from your shoulders and relax down where you are. Good. In today's meditation part of the session, we're going to do a body scan. So starting from the top of our head, going through down to the tip of our toes, checking in on each and every part of our body just to make sure how it's doing. We're not necessarily trying to fix anything. We might do a little bit of diagnosis in terms of why it may feel that way, but we're not going to go into extensive stuff here. We're just going to check in with our body, have a conversation with it, and see how it is. And if it's feeling great, that's great. If it's feeling like there's some areas that you may not be aware of and that are maybe just causing you some sort of pain or discomfort or just differentness, it's just good to log that, notice it, or even if it's just feeling like fairly average. We're just trying to gain a baseline most of the time, but also to help us to get an understanding of how our body feels in this moment. So to do that, we're going to start from the top of our head and I'll be guiding you every step of the way. So you just listen to what I'm asking from you and you follow along. So start with the top of your head in the crown area and just noticing how it feels. Just put your focus and attention into that area and seeing how it is. And then now we're going to take that focus and move it around and first of all down into our forehead. Feel free to give it a wiggle if you want to touch it with your hands or whatever it is. Just notice how it feels in that forehead area. And for myself, it feels fairly good right now. So it's just good movements, easy movements as well as we move down into our eye sockets. And this one's always a telling one because if you don't have much sleep or you're having a disturbed sleep or whatever it may be, you nearly always feel it in those eye areas, even in middle of the day, middle of the morning, whatever it may be. And we just feel it in that eye area. So see how it feels and you go, oh, you know what? Maybe I need some extra sleep, or hey, my sleep's been going great lately, or somewhere in between the two. Just noticing how it is. Moving on now into the cheeks area, which for myself is always a tricky one to evaluate when we do it after the session because I've been talking for the last 55 minutes. So it's a little bit trickier to understand how the cheeks and the jaw feel, but generally they should feel fairly okay. But just noticing how it is, move it around. If there's any differences, any tightness, any movement causing any pain, whatever it may be, just take a note of it, see how it is, and then move on. Let's go into our neck now. And we have been mobilizing our neck, which means it's nice and loose probably, but it may also feeling a little bit tender just because we have been moving and stretching it. So it might just be a little bit on the achy side as well as loose as well at the same time. Let's bring that down through the vertebrae into our shoulders and out to the edge of our shoulders. And we can give our shoulders a little rotation maybe. Noticing how it feels. We put a lot of attention, almost half an hour into our shoulders today. So they should be feeling pretty loose, but also they may be feeling a little bit tired just because we've gone for a long range of motion. We've been stretching them. That can bring its own form of fatigue. So just noticing how it feels, loosening it up, and then moving down our arms in our biceps and our triceps into the elbow joint. And we can just move this by extending and flexing at the arms if you want to, or just putting some focus and attention there and seeing how the elbows are, which could be good. Just maybe need a little bit extra attention, whatever it may be. Moving down our forearms now and into our wrists. We can give those a little bit of a movement in the wrists, see how they are. I've been pushing my wheelchair a lot more the last week or so rather than I've got a like electric wheel thing, but I tend to when I'm in the UK, I generally push my wheelchair a lot more because I'm visiting houses and homes of people. And I do notice that it may need just a little bit extra love and attention in these wrist joints. And that's what these body scans are great for. I notice them and I can catch them. I can make sure I'm doing the work to make sure I'm keeping those as protected as I can do as my situation changes. So the more we can do this, the better baseline we get and the better understanding of our body. Moving into our fingers, moving those if you can. Yeah, and then let's bring that focus from the fingertips right the way back up the arms into the spine and the top of the spine now and moving down, and we can give ourselves a wiggle, a rotation, and noticing how it feels if you can feel this area. And again, I don't necessarily feel any sort of pain or discomfort, but sometimes it feels a little bit tight in the spine. But once I've done the movements we've done today, it certainly loosens up and helps to keep things moving nicely. Good. And let's go down through our hips. And these are the areas we may not be able to feel or move, but just do the best you can to send information down there and see what you get back from it. So you can wiggle your hips side to side. And then we move down into our knees area. And again, you can, if you can move them, give them a little movement, but For myself, I use my hands just to move them around, just to see how they are doing as we go down. Our legs into our ankles. If you can move them, give them a movement. If you can't, just send that energy down, see what comes back to you. And then finally down into our toes, and the same there as well. Good. I want you to imagine that we're going to take 3 deep breaths in here. And as we do so, I want you to imagine a blue light that goes from the tip of your toes all the way up to the top of your head. And it's going to fill you up all the way through. And as you breathe out, you're going to exhale all that blue light. Okay, so we're going to start from the tip of our toes, breathing together now, breathing in. And then breathing out. 2 more of those. Breathing in. Breathing out. 1 more time. Breathing in. Breathing out. Relaxing there, bringing your breathing back to normal, but keep your eyes closed as we thank ourselves for coming here today for this session. We got through the hardest part, which was turning up. Then we focused our way through the session, keeping focus all the way through. So that deserves yourselves a pat on the back or a round of applause. However you want to say thank you to yourself, do so now. And then when you're ready to, you can start to slowly open up the eyes, come back to the room as we bring today's session to a close.